are now on the YouTube live stream as well as on the Periscope. I want to say good morning to those of you who may be watching outside of the app. I know a lot of you do that, and you hit me in my inbox and let me know what you thought about the show. I want to say thank you for doing that. I want to say good morning to those of you who may be watching by your laptop. Good morning, Lady Latoya. And I'm going to go ahead and share this broadcast while we are waiting for a few more people to stop in. We have a couple of things to cover today. I did tell you all that I was going to tell you a little bit, give you some tips about supporting small business owners. And we're going to do a little bit on health today, and then we're going to close out with some basic components for success in your business life by Robert Mondavi. All right. Awesome. Good morning. I'm glad for those of you who are using this for your drive time listening. That's a great idea. So last week, as you all know, I was supposed to go through or finish up my process for my journey to health. And today, by the way, if you are new for the first time, we usually talk about business and health on Friday. So that's what we're going to be covering today. So first, let me start out with my health update. I was delayed in my health process, and so I had to literally go to battle to get my health process completed and to continue my journey. One thing that I want to say in this hour, especially as new executive orders are coming out with the Affordable Care Act, please, please, please make sure that whoever your insurance provider is, make sure that you are reading what their requirements are. Make sure you are up to date with understanding their policies and practices and procedures. Even if you have to call and request something in writing to be sent to you as to what the updates are, please make sure you're doing all of that. Because one thing that I learned in this process is literally I had to do all the work. I had to do all the fighting. I had to do all the advocating. I had to do all of the calling different departments to figure out what was going on. I had to speak to all the representatives. I had to corral my doctors and give my doctors the numbers that they needed in order to advocate for me. I had to follow up with my doctors. I had to make sure that my doctors had actually emailed the people that needed and were requesting different information. It was literally all of the work that medical people get taught to do is now on the patient. So I don't think people understand how much of a wreck our healthcare system is because of the way that the Affordable Care Act is now framed, and also because of some of the new things that they are doing to the Affordable Care Act, pieces that they're pulling out that's making hospitals and hospital administration and doctors and all of them no longer good, no longer responsible. And if they're no longer responsible, this is the difficult piece. If they're no longer responsible, then that means you're responsible. And even if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing or who you're supposed to be contacting or what forms you're supposed to be submitting, at this point, it doesn't matter that you don't know. The responsibility is now being put on you as the patient. And that is what I found out in this past week of literally having to turn over every stone and having to speak to different departments and different representatives. In other words, all of the things that would have been happening in the background between doctors and insurance providers is now being left on the patient to do, which is absolutely crazy because we don't know a lot of stuff. We don't know how these things operate. And for years, doctors and insurance providers and all of that has been happening without the hand of the patient being in it. But because of the way that the Affordable Care Act is now set up, a lot of that has been destroyed, just to be honest with you. even in terms of cost, right? It used to be where you would go in and you would maybe pay one specific solid cost and maybe a couple of soft costs. Now everything is itemized and billed. So even when you go to a doctor, they have to be very careful about what kind of materials they use on you, how many of that material they use on you. Like literally they're getting charged for every single piece of everything. So this is some of the stuff that's causing stress between insurance providers and between doctors and hospitals. All right. So I'm not in the healthcare field, but I will tell you the things that I went through this week let me know and let me understand that it's going to get worse. All right. So I got my issue cleared up. Thank God. And I'm actually going to be redoing my process later this month. So after this episode, because of my husband and myself, I'm going to be taking the entire November off to do that. And so I will be back in December with the broadcast. So by that time, my life should be moving in the trajectory of continued permanent health in the areas that I need to be in good health in. And so I just wanted to give you that. So being that we started with health, let me go back into the book, The Vegucation of Robin. Remember, when we do come back, episode 75, you can mark that, you can pin that. Episode 75 is when we will be doing our next set of giveaways. And I actually have 2 of these books that I'm going to be giving away. I was able to go back and find 2 more copies. So for those of you who want to get your health life together, you want to figure out how to increase your plant-based diet, she's got all of that in this book, and you'll be able to go at it. So the other section in here that I wanted to share with you all was about sugar. She has something in here on sugar that I wanted to read with you all. We try not to, in our regular diet, my husband and I, we try not to use sugar. Really the only time that I'm getting any kind of sugar, and that's raw sugar, is usually when I drink coffee. But beyond that, we don't try to put sugar in our food. We don't do salt. We don't even do kosher salt. We do use garlic salt. We do use that for cooking. But yeah, so we try to stay away from a lot of sugar. All right, so here we go. She's going to give you some things about sugar here. And those of you, I know a lot of people use the artificial sugars, but those are actually worse than regular sugar, believe it or not, because they're a sugar alcohol. So you're actually doing more harm to your body utilizing artificial sugars. Just a heads up. That's like your NutraSweet, your Sweet and Low. There's a couple of more new ones out there, but I think she's going to go into it. And also, if you are drinking diet sodas, those are actually worse than regular sodas because, again, they're using the artificial sweeteners. Sucralose is another one. So look on the back of your drinks that you're drinking, okay? Right now, I'm in a season of drinking way more water than I used to. I'm drinking juice that's not from concentrated, or I'm juicing my own fruits, okay? And trying to stay away from artificial juices altogether. That's where I am as far as juices. So just look on the back of what you're drinking, and if you're seeing things that has LOSE at the end, that's that sugar alcohol. So if it says like sucralose, LOSE, that's a sugar alcohol. And I think even in some of the health drinks that that is promoted as healthy, if you look on the back of them, some of them have the sugar alcohol in it. So it can't be too healthy if they are adding the sugar alcohol. So just be aware of that. Sugar. All that junk will make you sick. So often I hear a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. But calories from sugar are different than calories from other foods. Michael Pollan said it best. The whiter the bread, the sooner you'll be dead. Anybody know why bread is white? Okay. Most people by now should know why bread is white, because all of the nutrients are taken out of it and then it is processed. So if you're eating white bread, you're literally eating nothing because all of the nutrients are taken out of your bread. When I do eat bread, I like to eat pumpernickel bread. All right. Simple carbohydrates like those in white bread, crackers, chips, pastries, candy bars, and soft drinks come from grains or sugar plants, but have been so refined that they carry virtually no nutritional benefits. Instead, eating this junk is akin to mainlining glucose, which, like all other processed sugars, will only make you sick. Refined sugar, along with its alter egos, dextrose, there goes that OSE again. So remember, the easiest way to figure out if there's some sugar alcohol in a product, let me see. 1 second. Oh, make sure this is a dry erase marker. Do. There we go. All right. Now I can give you some tips. So, sugar alcohol, you're going to see OSE. Can everybody see that? You're going to see OSE at the end. So that is dextrose. That's a sugar alcohol. Maltose. That's another one. Sucralose. That's another one. All right. If you're looking at your drink products especially and you're seeing dextrose, maltose, sucralose, that's that sugar alcohol, and it's really not good for you. Fructose. Yep, corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is not good for you. Evaporated cane juice. She has high fructose corn syrup. All right. And here's what you need to know about these is it takes both you and your body on a roller coaster ride, and it taxes all of your health systems. It causes your blood sugar to shoot up, prompting your pancreas to quickly produce insulin to help get all that sugar into your cells where it can be used as fuel. So it's really causing your pancreas to work harder than it needs to get the unhealthy stuff where it needs to go. All right. But if you're eating, for example, a bagel for breakfast, turkey on white bread for lunch, pizza for dinner, and sodas and coffee and maca whatevers throughout the day, or foods with hidden sugar like ketchup, mayonnaise, jarred pasta sauce, processed cheese, flavored yogurt, energy drinks, or even junk food that's dressed up as all natural or organic, then your blood sugar level is high all the time. So if some of the things that they're mentioning is a part of your regular diet, you want to be eating less of that, and you want to be thinking about how can I get rid of as much sugar alcohol out of my diet as possible. Your insulin can no longer do its job, and if pushed too far, will stop working altogether, which results in type 2 diabetes. So when you see that diabetes is high amongst African American populations, right? A lot of people try to say it's genetic, but sometimes it's really your diet. It's what you are eating as an African American. And then when you look in African American neighborhoods and you look at the food sources that are available, you can see how what's in proximity to you, what you're eating on a regular basis, is now leading to this diabetes. All right. So, and as though we're not already gluttons for punishment, these drastic ups and downs in your body, in your blood sugar, can cause mood swings, depression, and in most cases make you crave more sugar. I used to work at a school where the entire school was sugar free. And things that we noticed about our students, because most of them were ADD or dyslexic, the whole entire school was. It was a very interesting school to work at, by the way. And we noticed, because of the studies that we had to do on sugar with our population, we could tell when our students had partaken in sugar. You know, like all of the students this week that went out and did Halloween and they ate all that candy on Tuesday. It takes about 3 days for sugar to actually process through your body and you start seeing what the sugar does. So all that candy they ate on Tuesday is not really hitting until Friday. So the results of eating that sugar earlier this week is actually now kicking in on Friday, so parents can enjoy their children and all that is going to occur from that sugar rush. They're going to get that over the weekend. Usually, if children eat like that over the weekend on a Friday, okay, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, by Monday, Tuesday, teachers are getting the result of your child being high, literally, on sugar. All right. Meanwhile, the more sugar you eat, the more acidic your blood becomes, which weakens your entire body. You get achy joints, chronic muscle spasms, sluggish organs, and even schizophrenia are linked to an acidic environment. It's also the perfect place for viruses, cancers, and all types of illness to flourish. It's because your pancreas can't keep up with all the sugar that's now flooding your system. It leaches your vital nutrients from your body to help digest it. You're then robbed of iron, calcium, phosphorus, and B vitamins, which can lead to anemia and osteoporosis. So people are not telling you how sugar is literally destroying you from the inside out. I don't see anybody talking about it unless you're on a health channel or something. Eating excessive sugar, and by excess, I mean no more than 100 calories of added sugar a day for women and 150 for men, which is less than in a can of soda, is also directly linked to cancer. Cells from nearly a third of common cancers like breast and colon cancer have what are called insulin receptors. So these cells have the ability to capture insulin from the bloodstream and feed themselves your glucose. Imagine that. We've gotten so hung up on sugar that now our cancers have figured out a way to benefit. If you have any of these rogue cells floating around in your bloodstream, eating a diet high in sugar is basically inviting them to an all-you-can-eat tumor buffet. Perhaps the most obvious consequence of all, and the root of a host of other issues, is that when you eat processed sugar, you get fat. Most people think if they cut out fat from things like cheeseburgers, fettuccine alfredo, and French fries, that they're well on their way to weight loss. But when the liver gets overloaded with sugar, it converts a portion of these calories to fat, some of which ends up as dimples in your butt, dimples in your thighs, and dimples in your arms. And then some of it ends up in the bloodstream, where it makes small cholesterol particles, or LDL, that are very good for clogging your arteries and causing heart attacks and other cardiovascular diseases. In fact, a recent study done by Dr. Kimber Stanhope at the University of California, Davis, showed that subjects who went from a healthy diet to consuming high fructose corn syrup on a regular basis developed elevated LDL cholesterol and other risks for heart disease in just 2 weeks. Salt. Another problem with processed foods is that they're hiding an obscene amount of salt. Current wisdom dictates that we consume no more than 2,400 milligrams of sodium a day. Do you know how much that actually is? 1 teaspoon of salt a day. That's it. And that's not just what you sprinkle on your chicken casserole at dinner. That number includes all the salt you unwittingly take in if you're eating packaged cardboard that's been stripped of all flavor other than what's artificially added back in. It's not just the obvious offenders like chips and pretzels either. Deli meats and cheeses, canned vegetables, frozen dinners, and even those healthy-looking packaged vegetable juices are high in sodium. When you eat too much sodium, you retain water, which stretches your blood vessel walls and causes your blood pressure to go up. As your blood pressure goes up, so do your chances of having a heart attack or stroke. Lastly, sugar substitutes, not so sweet. It's easy to be fooled into thinking that synthetic sugar substitutes offer a more healthful, low or no calorie alternative to refined sugar. Good morning, Pastor Ben. But these laboratory-derived concoctions are as bad, if not worse, than the alternative. Diet soda, for example, which is one of the worst offenders in the sugar bait and switch, has been linked to a familiar litany of offenses. A recent 10-year epidemiological study found that daily consumption of diet soda caused an increased risk for stroke, heart attack, and death. But if you're still not willing to pass on these packets, here are a few things to consider. So, here we go. Let's see. She still got sucralose down, so let me give you the other two that she has. And that is, yeah, because I didn't mention these two. Aspartame. Aspartame and saccharin. And make sure I spell that right. Yep, okay. So you have aspartame, saccharin, and sucralose. Aspartame is sold as NutraSweet and Equal. It is the Franken sugar that researchers stumbled on during an experiment to create an anti-ulcer drug. Far from nature's own sweet things, it's swathed in all kinds of allegations for causing things like neurological damage to bladder cancer. Saccharin. The Food and Drug Administration used to require the following warning on sweet and low packets. Use of this product may be hazardous to your health. This product contains saccharin, which has been determined to cause cancer in laboratory animals. I would think that would be enough said on the matter, though because it was found that the result of bladder cancer was unique to rats, the FDA later rescinded the warning and allowed the label to be removed. I'm still not taking any chances. And that is sweet and low, people. Causes cancer in rats. But since they only found it in rats, they removed the warning. Sucralose, otherwise known as Splenda. Sucralose is the non-caloric byproduct of actual sugar. In other terms, it's chlorinated sugar. While it has been approved by the FDA, there's a growing amount of evidence that dioxins, an unintentional byproduct of the process involving chlorine, can cause things like cancer, reproductive and developmental problems, and immune system suppression. So, better sugar substitutes? As a rule of thumb, the less refined sweeteners that take longer to be absorbed into our bloodstream are a much better alternative. Brown rice syrup, stevia, barley malt, agave syrup, maple syrup, and molasses are all healthier choices. All right. And most people I know either use the agave syrup, stevia, molasses, or they get their sugar in the raw. But again, sugar in the raw is something I use very little of, and I only use it when I'm using coffee, drinking coffee. So what is the goal? The goal is to start looking at what you eat and try to remove yourself from eating a lot of the products that have this artificial sugars in it. Is that a very difficult thing to start doing if she mentioned half of your weekly diet, right, for the week? So again, if you have access to healthcare, get with a nutritionist. Go to your healthcare provider. Tell them you want a nutritionist that's in your healthcare provider network so it can be covered under your insurance. And begin to see a nutritionist who will start walking you through this process of getting your health together. Notice I said nutritionist, not just a doctor. Why? Because doctors specialize in trying to get you to maintain your health, whereas nutritionists are really trying to get you to maintain your whole lifestyle. They're trying to get you to fix what you've been eating, right? That's causing the health problems that you have to go see your doctor for. All right. Moving on now to business success and 3 things that small business owners need from you. 3 things that small business owners need from you. And when I say small business owners, I'm talking about those that you know that are operating in business, people that you know. And we're going to go into that after we talk from the little book of business wisdom. And we're going to look at Robert Mondavi's advice to basic components for success. Who is Robert Mondavi? He is the founder of the Robert Mondavi Winery in Napa Valley. He is one of the most respected leaders in the industry. Mondavi's parents immigrated to the United States from Italy, and in 1919, they moved to California, where his father went into the grape business, buying and shipping the fruit east. Mondavi, whose philosophy for success includes having faith in yourself, studied economics and business administration at Stanford University. After graduating, he immersed himself in the winery business, but not until 1943 did he, his brother, and his father buy their own vineyard, the Charles Krug Winery. The family feud resulted in Mondavi leaving the family winery in 1965. At age 52, he struck out on his own, determined to compete with the best of Europe. So, here we go. Basic components for success. People often ask me, Bob, what are your secrets to success? What are the biggest lessons you have to share with people who are starting out or trying to remake their lives? Well, as I've tried to illustrate, in my philosophy of life, there are some basic tenets I believe lead to success in business and in almost every other life endeavor. To succeed in business or life, I don't think you need fancy schooling or highly technical expertise. What you need is common sense, a commitment to hard work, and the courage to go your own way. This is the necessary foundation. On top of this foundation, there are 15 other qualities that have served me well, and I think of them now as the basic components of my philosophy for success. Remember, especially if you are in business and you have not thought about what are your personal ethics. We've been talking about that a lot when we talk about business. Do you have personal standards? Do you have ethical principles already established? And now he's talking about a philosophy for success. Do you have a philosophy for your personal life? Do you have a philosophy for your professional life? A lot of people don't. What are some things that you will not do as a professional for your career path? And what are some things that you will do that mark the kind of work that you will do for an organization? If you know these things, that helps you to make a wise decision, right, in choosing whether or not you will work for a certain company or whether or not you will. Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you, Stephanie, for the testimony there. It depends on, it will help you to understand whether or not you already fit into a company's culture or not. If you already know what your own philosophy is and you feel very strongly about it and you can share it with someone else without hesitation, and what I mean by without hesitation is you own your philosophy, right? If you can share it with someone else, you can almost automatically know whether or not you're going to fit into a company or whether you would be good there. Because once you understand what that company's goals is, you can match it up against your personal and professional philosophy and say, that's not going to work because here's what I believe about business, or here's what I believe about honesty and integrity, and your company doesn't even have my minimal standard. So this is not going to work. right? So you save yourself some time and you save that company some time. He says here, first and foremost, you must have confidence and faith in yourself. You must have confidence and faith in yourself. There's going to be plenty of people who will come along and maybe they do something better than you do it. But you still have to have confidence and faith in the fact that you can get the job done. That whatever skill and expertise that you have, that you're just as good as anybody else, and that you are confident in that skill and expertise and that you can get it done. Second, whatever you choose to do, make a commitment to excel and then pour yourself into it with your heart and soul and complete dedication. So that means if you are on a job and you're working a 9 to 5, but you want to be promoted, that means that you have to have a level of dedication that sets you apart from everyone else. You can't be the person, let's just say if you want to be promoted from administrative assistant to executive assistant, you have to do something that's setting you apart from every other administrative assistant. You can't act the same way that every other administrative assistant acts. There has to be something different about you. Maybe you come in earlier than the rest of them. Maybe you are more willing to help other people on projects or manage things than the rest of the people that are on your same skill level. So there has to be something about you, something about your work ethic, something about your dedication that sets you apart from everyone else. All right. Third, interest is not enough. You must be passionate about what you do if you want to succeed and have a happy life. Find a job you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life. I often get many times people inbox me and they'll say, I know that you do a lot of research and I know that you're passionate about different subjects. And so they'll pitch a question to me and they'll ask me, do you have the information on this or do you know something about it? And sometimes if it's something simple, I will shoot them a link or I will give them a reference. But if it's someone who wants me to do intensive research, then let's consult about that. Okay? Because research and time is not free. All right. So one of the things that I do for people who don't have time to research is I do paid research. Where if you want me to help you get the information on different things, I can do that for a cost, right? But you have to be, again, you have to be passionate about what it is you do. Most people know that I'm passionate about research. I'm passionate about civil rights. I'm passionate about Black history. I'm passionate about understanding lynching law and Jim Crow law and that kind of thing. So they come to me for that information. Why? Because they know that I'm passionate about it. They know I've done the research on it. And they know if they want to pick my brain and they respect my research, then they're willing to support that area of what I do for a living. Okay. So fourth, establish a goal just beyond what you think you can do. When you achieve that, establish another goal and another goal. This will teach you to embrace risk. So, for example, in your health, right? Maybe you have not done anything with exercise all this year. I know some people are saying, are you kidding me? But no, we're not counting you getting in your car and driving. We're not counting you walking through the parking lot to go to the grocery store. We're talking about actual intentional exercise. So if you haven't done that all year, all right, maybe your goal is I'm going to get out and I'm going to do 30 minutes of walking a day. And after you meet that goal, maybe your goal goes up to I'm going to do an hour of walking a day. In other words, you have to start somewhere beyond what you're doing right now. And then you're going to continue to increase that goal as you go along. With your professional life, maybe it's I have not written out a professional plan yet. I have not written out my philosophy for success. Before November 30th, I'm going to take time out of my schedule and I am going to write down my philosophy for success. What does it mean for me to be successful? I don't need to wait till January 1st, 2018. I can do that now so that I can be moving towards success, so that when January 1st, 2018 starts, I am ready to go. I'm not getting ready. I'm already ready. I'm not in the starting blocks. I'm already running into 2018. And by the way, I go by the Jewish calendar. So my new year started in September. Just of FYI. Fifth, to be completely honest and open. I never had secrets. I would share my knowledge and experience with others if they would share with me. So in other words, there's a reciprocal relationship of knowledge sharing. I always had confidence that there was enough room for all of us, which is so very true. You hear a lot of people talking. I know in the business world, sometimes people can get stingy with their information. And even if they do have the information, they're not willing to share it with you, even if you pay them for the information. But I actually agree with him on this. There is enough room for everybody. If you, again, understand your own skill, your own expertise, your own unique abilities, and what you bring to the table, then you don't have to shut other people out. You can save seats at the table. You can actually say, hey, pull up a chair. There's some room for you. 6, generosity pays. So learn to initiate giving. What you give will enrich your life and come back to you many times over. 7th, only make promises and commitments you know you can keep. A broken promise can damage your credibility and reputation beyond repair. As a small business owner, this is why I have a certain amount of projects that I will do per year. And I try to keep my goal of not overcommitting myself and not putting more clients on my plate than I can handle. Why? Because as he said, a broken promise can damage your credibility and reputation beyond repair. If you know you don't have the time, if you know you can't deliver within the time frame that someone is asking, be upfront with them and be honest. And if they're willing to work with your schedule, that's great. But if they're not, don't feel the pressure to commit to something that you know you cannot do and you know you cannot fulfill. 8th, you must understand that you cannot change people. Let me sip my OJ on that. I'm going to say that one more time, probably 2 more times. You must understand that you cannot, hear me, gospel preachers, you cannot change people. It's not even your responsibility to change people. Did you know that? It's not. It is your responsibility to give people truth, to encourage them, to teach them, to guide them, to set them on a good course or a truthful course, but you cannot change people. You might be able to influence them a little, but you can't change anyone but yourself. So accept people the way they are, accept their differences, and try to work with them as they are. Somebody say amen. He says, I learned this late in life, and it is amazing what peace of mind I found when I finally understood it. 2 things that the Lord has told me that has given me profound peace with all of my relationships with humankind, whether they like me or not, whether they believe what I believe, any of that. He said, 1, people are built to surprise you. They're built to surprise you. So that means get ready to be surprised by human beings. And so if they do something that's surprising, you could say, oh, this is exactly what God was talking about. That people are built to surprise you. They surprise God. I know God is all knowing, but there are still things that human beings do. And I'm sure God is like, I know I gave you all the free will, but really y'all gonna go and do that with your free will? People are built to surprise you. The second is humans are gonna human. I'm actually gonna get a shirt made that says that. Humans are gonna human. They're human beings. They're not aliens. They're going to human. They're going to do human things. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to not be perfect. They're going to mess up. Humans are gonna human. So let them human. All right? And many of us humans have not accepted the divine power that can rest on your humanity to help you be a better human. We just haven't accepted that yet. And so for those who haven't accepted that God's divine power can rest on your humanity to help you be a better human, to serve mankind and humankind in the world better, until they accept that, understand people are built to surprise you. And don't freak out when somebody does something surprising, whether it's your family member, whether it's your BFF, whether it's your little cute little 2-year-old who all of a sudden looks like she turned into a demon one day and she starts screaming and yelling and throwing stuff. Listen, humans are gonna human. Did I help somebody? I hope I helped somebody. Chillax. Humans are gonna human, okay? 9th, to live and work in harmony with others, don't be judgmental. I know this is hard. This is hard for a lot of people. It is. To live and work in harmony with others, don't be judgmental. Did you know that scripture really tells us that the only people we're really supposed to be judging is brethren in the context of correction, not in condemnation, not in deciding whether they're going to go to heaven or hell? Go read 1 Corinthians 5. Paul specifically says that God judges the ungodly. God judges people who are outside of Christ. And that the only judgment for brethren really is correction, because we still don't have a heaven or a hell to put anybody in. So if I tell you, brother or sister, you're doing something wrong, it is not in condemnation, it is in correction. And if you don't want to receive the correction, then the scripture is very clear that I am to separate myself from people who don't want correction, people who don't want to be corrected. But I still don't have the power or the right to condemn you to hell. That's not my calling. It's nobody's calling but Jesus. Scripture calls him the judge. He will judge the quick and the dead. So once we understand that, we can live and work in harmony with others, and we don't have to be judgmental, because guess what? Those who are not in Christ and those who are not under the blood of Christ are already standing condemned. That's what Jesus said. He said, he who does not believe in me is already condemned. So why do I need to go around telling you what's already going on with you? I need to be trying to give you the solution. Instead, cultivate empathy and compassion. Empathy and compassion. Never berate people, especially your children, in front of their cohorts. This can be dispiriting and damaging to them, and it's counterproductive for you. As I've learned, if you want to teach someone to fly, you don't start by clipping their wings. OMG. If you want to teach someone to fly, you don't start by clipping their wings. 10th, human beings experience the same thing in very different ways. Two people can live through the exact same experience and come away with a totally different understanding of what happened. So between people, there's always a large space for misunderstanding. Always be alert for misunderstanding and tread lightly, especially when it comes to politics, religion, what's the other one? Sex, and moral standards. 11th, it is very important that we understand one another. We need to learn how to bridge those spaces of misunderstanding. To do this, you have to learn to listen carefully. I put up a post early this morning. It was a gentleman. He had written something about his summation of Adam and Eve. And if you go on Daring Dialogues page, you'll see what he wrote. And if you go back and read scripture, Genesis 1, 2, and 3, you will know that he came to some very erroneous conclusions about Adam and Eve and God. All right. So I did offer him some correction. I did offer him the actual scripture. And then I said, God did not give Adam dominion over Eve. If you go and read the text, nowhere in Genesis 1, 2, or 3 does God say, and I gave Adam dominion over Eve. It does not say that. But guess what? A lot of people are being taught that. That's why people need to read the scriptures for themselves, okay? So we have to listen carefully. And when we talk, be sure that people understand us. On important issues, have people repeat back to you what you've said. I like to do this a lot. Sometimes people think I'm a little off, but I'm like, I'm not off. I'm repeating back to you because I want to make sure that I understood what you said. So if I repeat it back and you say, yes, that is what I said, then I know that I'm walking away with a clear understanding. To make sure there's no areas of confusion or conflict. 12th, rarely will you find complete harmony between two human beings. Rarely, rarely, rarely. But if you find it, maintaining this harmony requires individuals to have complete confidence in one another. Make time to be alone, to share experiences, to appreciate together precious moments and the beauty of life. Open all of yourself to that person emotionally, physically, spiritually, intellectually, and if they're your spouse, sexually. And always leave time for playfulness and laughter. There's no better tonic for keeping love alive and vibrant than laughter and good cheer. Good morning, teach all I know. 13th, in both life and work, stay flexible. Whether in a country, a company, or a family, the same holds true. Dictatorship and rigidity rarely work. Freedom and elasticity do. 14, always stay positive. Use your common sense. And remember this, America was built on the can-do spirit and will continue to thrive on the can-do spirit. 15th, out of all the rigidities and mistakes of my past, I learned one final lesson, and I'd like to see it engraved on the desk of every business leader, teacher, and parent in America. The greatest leaders don't rule, they inspire. Somebody say, preach, Robert Mondavi, preach. The greatest leaders don't rule, they inspire. So as we close, I want to talk about 3 things that small business owners need from you. This is very dear to my heart because I'm a small business owner. So I'm going to talk real briefly as we close about 3 things that small business owners need from you. And I'm going to give you 3 P's to remember those things by. The first thing that small business owners need from you, whether they are selling coffee, whether they're selling a health product, whether they're selling a book, whether they are selling music, if they're an independent artist, if they're a small business owner, these are 3 things they need from you. Number 1, they need your presence. They do. Small business owners need your presence. So one of the things that we sincerely would appreciate is if you would be there. All right. Be there at the opening. If you can make it, if you have small business owners in your family, you live very close to an event. If you can be there, small business owners will never forget it. All right. If you show up at Beyonce's event, she may never ever know you were there. If you show up at a small business owner's event, they will never ever forget that you came. I think I need to say that again because that was real good. If you show up at Beyonce's event, she may never even know you were there. If you show up at a small business owner's event, they will never forget that you came. I can tell you who showed up at my book signings because they were present. All right. So be there. Whether it's a opening of a store or a hair salon or a barber shop or a health food store, whether they are doing a book signing, whether they are launching a product, All right. I know some entrepreneurs, they will ask if they can use your space, right, to present their product. They'll ask you to invite friends. So whatever way that you can be present, be present. That's number one. Number two, purchase. I know this sounds very simple, but purchase. A lot of people will say congratulations, but they won't move past congratulating. All right. So we need you to purchase, right? We need you to buy 1 to 2 times. Most small business owners, because they're building up their business, they're building up their clientele, they really are initially relying on people that know them very well, that know their character, that know that they're not selling something as a scheme, right? Because we know that there are lots of Ponzi schemes out, but they need you to purchase. Buy 1 or 2 times from them. Buy 1 to 2 items from them. When seasons roll around, right? We're getting ready to go into the holy day season or the holiday season. Look at the people that you know that are selling things on a regular basis that maybe you have not purchased something from them all year, and make it your business to purchase something from them during the holiday season. Buy things from people that you know to give gifts to others. All right. And yes, you're getting to my third piece. So you have presence, which is be there if you can. You have purchase, which is I try to tell people buy 1 to 2 items. In other words, if they're selling, for example, if they're selling jewelry, right? Buy a piece for yourself and buy a piece to give to somebody else. So you're buying 1 to 2 items, or buy 1 to 2 times from that person, right? Because we know a lot of people are going into entrepreneurship because of our economy and what's happening. We know that because of these new tax breaks that are coming, it's really going to benefit people who are in business as opposed to people who are not in business. So you want to make sure that you are buying from them. When do we convert to not having to rely on friends and family? Well, that has to do with your marketing, right? That has to do with the time that that entrepreneur is taking to market beyond their family and their friends, which is that entrepreneur's responsibility. But I'm talking right now, particularly about people who are just launching out in business and how they really do need our support. Okay, so you have presence, you have purchase, and then you have promotion. Now, again, as Teach All I Know said, which is Mr. Ruben Arana, I encourage you to follow him. Very artistic and creative. He's a professor out at Florida A&M University. If you have promotion going, right, it is the small business owner's responsibility to make sure they're prepared to market their material, right? It's their responsibility to make sure that they have X amount of dollars set aside for marketing and promotion. But if you also know that entrepreneur, a part of even in the business models, they still teach that one of the best ways to get your sales going, right, is by word of mouth. But now it's really by click of the computer or by a share. This is why a lot of times people say like, share, and subscribe. They're trying to get you to help them to introduce their product to other people. So I often tell people, if you can't be there, right, or if you feel like you're on a budget, I know a lot of people are on a budget getting ready for the holidays and they don't want to spend outside of a certain amount of money. So if you can't be there in presence, if you say, I'm on a budget right now, but I can't purchase anything, then the least that you could do for the small business owners that you know is to promote. Promotion is free. All right. So introduce them. Share their products on your page. Mention them by name. Recommend their products. And one of the things that I encourage people to do, I did this year and I'm doing it again, is to make a list of small business owners that you know and try to begin. For me, it is September through September, but try to begin, pick a month, either December through December, November through November, and see how many of those small business owners that you know, how many you can actually spend the whole year supporting. So make it a goal. Write down a list of people you know. Who do I know that does who's a small business owner that has a beauty products? Who are some small business owners that I know that have health products? Who are some small business owners that I know that are in arts and entertainment? Right? So you can even break them up into categories, and then you can start every month, pick somebody from a category and say, I'm going to support this person's business, right? Because if we could spend $1,000 on an iPhone, you mean to tell me most people who are in small business, the products of most small businesses run anywhere between $5 to $25 per product. So if I have $1,000 that I want to spend on an iPhone, if I break that down into buying several different products, I could probably fulfill my list of small business owners off $1,000. If I commit that I'm going to take $1,000 this year of my spending money, of money I know I'm going to spend, and I'm going to dedicate that $1,000 to supporting small business owners, I will probably have fulfilled my goal. So I hope that this was helpful for you, of just some ways that is very simple to support people who are small business owners. It doesn't matter how you get started, but one of the things that I do want to encourage is that people support small business owners. I know they also have a thing out called Small Business Saturday, right? Where they tell you to shop locally. Locally to me also includes the people that you know that are small business owners right around you. All right. So this has been another episode of Daring Dialogues. I hope that I have shared something today that was helpful to you. If you're just chiming in, please go back and catch the replay, because we started out by talking about health and some of the things that are happening with insurance providers. Okay. As the laws continue to change, as executive orders continue to come out, you want to stay on top of your insurance provider. You want to stay on top of it. You want to make sure that you know what is coming down the pipeline for your company in particular. All right. I know a lot of people are on the health exchange, and that's a little bit different. But if you're using a major insurance provider like a Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, Evergreen, there's a lot of different companies out. Please make sure you are checking with your insurance provider to make sure that you know what changes are coming out. All right. And remember, a lot of details are being left on the patient to figure out now. It's no longer being left with the hospital administrators, and it's no longer being left with the doctors. They are now putting a lot more responsibility on you as the patient. And one of the things that the lady said to me, that I was speaking to, who deals in the health claim side of health insurance, she said, I want to thank you for taking the time to follow up with us and to call us and to stay on us, because that is what it's going to take for people to get the optimum service out of their providers in this day and age. So that was a warning that I want to share with everyone. All right. So we will be back fully for Daring Dialogues in December. You will see me on here on Sundays, but for the month of November, we're only going to be doing our Sunday messages on Periscope. So please pray for my husband and I. As I said, we are both going to go through our health journey for this month. And I just see it as God preparing us and making sure that our human operating systems are fully operable for all of the stuff that we'll be doing in 2018. So we'll be able to be in full strength, up and running into our 2018 to do what God has called us to do. I do want to say thank you all for those of you who have been with us every single episode up to this point. Remember, episode 75, we will be using that episode to do our next set of giveaways. So I want to say thank you again for your time and attention. If you want to keep up with us outside of Periscope, please check our bio information, and that will tell you how you can connect with us outside of this technology. All right. Take care and God bless. Thank you. And I want to thank you who have been watching with us on our YouTube live stream as well. Again, we're only going to be broadcasting on Sundays for the month of November. So I hope that I have said something today that was helpful to you. I hope that you will pass on this broadcast, and I hope that you will encourage your small business owners around you by being there, by purchasing, and by promoting. Take care, and God bless.